Power to the Truth. This is Margo. This is Thursday, March the 7th, 2019, and it's 5:16 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. I'm getting a little bit of a late start today, but that's okay. We'll get this show done and ready for you for your nightly viewing. And we do have new methane data that's working. I never could get the Tuesday data to go into the movie, and then when I logged on today, the only data we have is from last Wednesday, February 27th, and it's only 1 day's worth of data, but we'll take what we can get. I've chosen the Arctic view so that we can see it as close up as possible and surface level. So this is where it left off with the end of Tuesday, and in our forecast we were, in the last time that I showed methane, which was several days ago, I don't even remember how long, that was showing the disbursement of those releases that had come up and around and everything. So this is where we start with the beginning of Wednesday, last Wednesday, over a week ago, February 27th. And so I have this movie loaded up, and we'll see what methane is doing in the Arctic. Well, we can see in the forecast period, it's a little jerky this first time through, as you know, but it'll even out. There's another building and release coming up out of Siberia up through the Kara Sea. And now it's starting over. So here it is at the end of Wednesday, and so we were seeing it pop up in this Kara Sea again to the east of Novaya Zemlya in pretty dark quantities, and popping up out of Novaya Zemlya itself, and then out of the Barents Sea, and then out of the Laptev Sea and coming across, and also out of the Chukchi Sea at a lower level, and also out of the Beaufort Sea over here at a little bit lower level. We can see it was in this light chartreuse green, that's about 2,000 parts per billion, and the more yellowy is 2020. And then as you get into the golden red, it gets higher. This reddish, dark red color is between 2140 and 2160 parts per billion, and this dark brown, the darkest, is anywhere between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion, according to this scale. So let's run this movie now, and we'll see what it's doing in the forecast period, which would go through last Sunday. And so what they'll probably do is they'll start adding in data, and they'll get caught up. They'll put 3 or 4 new days worth of data, and it'll only be up for a day, and I'll have to make sure and record all of that before they put up more new data and the old data goes away. So I don't know why they do that, but with methane and carbon dioxide, which are the 2 main greenhouse gases that everybody is most interested in, they lag in their data and putting it up on the website for whatever reason. So carbon dioxide and methane usually run about the same as far as the days that are available. So you can see that release coming across northern Siberia, probably with melting permafrost there. Then I've got it loaded up on the global view so that we can see globally what methane was doing last Wednesday. And we can see when it goes into the forecast period, quite a bit of a lot of dark methane coming up out of the United States. Look here, is in like Colorado. That's where we had that earthquake, and the upper middle Midwest. And look, here's Canada. Oh, by the way, I have a treat for you today. There was an earthquake up in Canada that didn't get picked up by USGS or EMSC. It was just reported a couple of different places, but I'm going to bring that to you today too. And so it was in that region. See that dark methane right up there? That earthquake was up in that region. We also have a lot of dark methane coming up out of Europe and out of the UK and across. And of course, always it seems like this part of Russia or Siberia is releasing. Then we got China and India, and down here there was an earthquake today in South Africa, and there were earthquakes off the coast of Madagascar, and so we're seeing methane releases there. And then we've got large methane release in the center of South America, which is what we normally see. And we're seeing some higher methane releases in Australia as well, around the edges. And now, and look at New Zealand in the forecast period, and they've had a ton of earthquakes down there, and I think people are getting on high alert with these earthquakes now and understanding why I'm doing this daily reporting. And a lot of other people are reporting now, saying the high risk potential for especially the west coast of the United States and Canada, and the whole Pacific Ring of Fire and all that. And they're thinking a big one, you know, and it could happen. It probably will. I don't know. I'm expecting it, and that's why I'm doing all of this. So we're going to print that and leave that as our background. I mean, God told me to report on this for a reason, and so I do what I'm told. So next I have a treat for you. This is an article. This is a follow-up to the Novaya Zemlya polar bears that I reported on that had invaded the town of Belusha Gupa. And so here they are feasting at the dump at Belusha Gupa. So the Russians are not real happy about that. So this is from phys.org from March the 5th. This is a follow-up from our polar bear story. So I told you I would bring follow-up information on our polar bears that we're tracking up in Novaya Zemlya. And the title says, Russia's Arctic plans add to polar bears' climate woes. So let's read this story. I'm going to go to the clean reader here. Polar bears feed at a garbage dump near the village of Belusha Guba on the remote northern Russian archipelago of Novaya Zemlya on October 31st, 2018. Well, it was more recent that we saw them up there. It was just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a so they've been up there feeding on the trash for a long time. Last month's visit, here we go, by roaming polar bears that put a Russian village on lockdown may be just the beginning. For as Moscow steps up its activity in the warming Arctic, and we know all about that, they're planning on drilling and all kinds of stuff, conflict with the rare species is likely to increase. More than 50 bears approached Belushia Gupa, a village on the far northern Novaya Zemlya archipelago in February. As many as 10 of them explored the streets and entered buildings. Local authorities declared a state of emergency for a week and appealed for help from Moscow. Photos of the incident went viral, with some observers blaming officials for ignoring a sprawling garbage dump nearby where the animals feasted on food waste. But polar bear experts say the main reason the Arctic predators came so close to humans was the late freezing of the sea. It was this that kept them from hunting seals and sent them looking for alternate food sources. And as Russia increases its footprint in the Arctic, pursuing energy projects, Northern Passage navigation, and strategic military interests, experts expect more clashes between humans and bears. Development in the Arctic will definitely increase conflict with humans, especially now that the polar bear is losing its life platform in several regions and coming ashore, said biologist Anatoly Kochnev, who has studied polar bears in the eastern Arctic since the 1980s. And there's a bear wandering on the ice. Experts think a recent invasion by polar bears of a Russian village in the Arctic was due to the late freezing of the sea that prevented them from hunting seals. World's fastest melting ice. Yeah, we know why. Novaya Zemlya, an archipelago of 2 islands between the Kara and Barents Seas, is a good example of Moscow's new frontier that falls inside the polar bear habitat. We know all about Novaya Zemlya, don't we? All of my viewers know about Novaya Zemlya. Bears in the Barents Sea are seeing the fastest ice reduction of the species range, having lost 20 weeks of ice a year over the last few decades, according to Polar Bears International. Ice monitoring shows that previously, ice near Belushia Gupa formed in December. For thousands of years, they migrated this time of year to hunt seals. This year, they came to the shore, and there was no ice. Since the incident, ice has formed, well, not much. And guess what? It's not real ice, it's that fake ice. How are they gonna go hunt a seal on that? Ice has formed and the bears have left land to hunt, but it's impossible to rule out a repeat of the situation in the coming years, and as more humans come to Novaya Zemlya, the likelihood of human-bear conflict increases. So, they're going to have to decide, is it going to be the humans or the bears? Humans or the bears? I know what I'd go for. In the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, climate change and new infrastructure projects are bringing humans and polar bears into conflict. A Soviet-era nuclear weapons testing site, we know all about that too. Novaya Zemlya remains a restricted territory. But following a post-Soviet hiatus, the military has put up new buildings and an aerodrome. A new port is under construction in tandem with imminent plans to mine the giant Pavlovskoye lead and zinc deposit. Yeah, we got to get those metals out of the earth. We got to rape Mother Earth some more. New contingents of military police were deployed to Belushia Gupa in 2018. The community, which has schools and a large sports complex for military families, numbers over 2,000 people. Soldiers versus bears. Kochnev remembers the damage caused by Soviet missile defense personnel previously stationed on the East Arctic's Wrangel Island. In 1991, soldiers drove an axe into the head of a polar bear after it had got used to feeding on discarded scraps and become aggressive. That's awful. Biologists from the island's nature reserve never found the injured animal. When they left a year later, we were relieved. Well, polar bears are supposed to be on the restricted list. You know, they should have strung that guy up anyway. Only reserve staff remained who knew how to behave around bears, but now it's all starting again. There they are. Poor bears. Moscow announced in 2014 that the Arctic was a strategic priority for its military. Kochnev, in 2015, wrote an emotional blog post after a bear near a military construction site on Wrangel Island swallowed an explosive flare. He criticized the new base and was fired from his job in a national park as a result. So see, you can't even criticize. You can't speak up for the bears, you'll lose your job. Current instructions regarding polar bears focus on how to ward them off, but the priority should be fortifying facilities to prevent any contact. Put yourself inside a cage and let the bears roam around, he said. They said this would not work on Novaya Zemlya, where winds would turn any fence into a giant snowdrift for bears to walk over. Beluga Guba is planning to install cameras and address its waste problem. Already, all arrivals to the local airport listen to a mandatory lecture on polar bear behavior. Moscow's plans to develop the Northern Passage also pose a problem for polar bears in the region. One expert believes that if the ice-free period increases, polar bears will likely migrate to northern Canada, and those who stay will eventually be killed off. Well, I don't think they're going to have any better luck in Canada, because Canada is going to melt too. Constant use of icebreakers through ice where seals give birth affects populations of seals, which bears feed on. Putin last year ordered an increase in the capacity of the Northern Passage, touted as an alternate trade route to Asia, from the current 18 million tons to 80 million tons by 2024. Kochnev said bears have been able to adapt so far to unfavorable trends, learning to feed in groups rather than hunt in solitude, but if warming continues, polar bears will simply leave Russia. If the ice-free period increases by another 2 to 3 weeks, they will likely migrate to northern Canada, where changes have been less noticeable. The ones that stay behind on Russian soil, meanwhile, will eventually get killed off in conflicts with humans. So, the plight of the polar bear on Novaya Zemlya. So there's that. I just wanted everyone to have a follow-up to see where we are. So they said the ice came back and then now the bears are gone. Well, whatever. I don't quite buy that. Now, I have NASA Worldview pulled up, and I'm going to show you. We got a real good picture of this iceberg that had broken off of Larsen Sea. This is what Dane Wigington referred to in his article that I shared yesterday from July of 2017. It's this big chunk of ice right here. It's called A68, and it had been down here. This is the hole that was left, as part of Larsen C ice shelf, but it broke off, and it's been filled in with sea ice, but this was part of the ice shelf that broke off, and since July of 2017 it's been gradually rotating around, and now it's completely rotated around to the left. And remember when I showed the sea ice, when was it, yesterday or day before? I was wondering if it was breaking up, and it is. You can absolutely see this breaking up here. So the iceberg is starting to break up now, because it used to be bigger. It used to come all the way down like in an oval shape. So that's breaking up. So that's a really good picture of it today with no clouds, so I thought I'd show that. And if you want to see what the Arctic looks like today, I mean, I did show it yesterday, but here's Novaya Zemlya. And Beluga Archipelago, Beluga Guba is, where's Beluga Guba? I'm having a brain fart. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, it's right down here. If we look on NASA, on Google Earth, it's right down here in this little cubby hole, right there. Right up in that cubby hole. So it's right up in here. So, frankly, I don't know what ice they're talking about that the bears are climbing up on, but they claim that the ice came and they left. So, I don't know what they're talking about. Doesn't look like much ice to me. Here's a pretty good picture. Doesn't look very thick. But anyway, that's what the report said. So we'll leave that for now. And those were my news items. So now, close that out. I'm going to close that out. Well, I do have one more news item, but it's earthquake related. So now let's go to our earthquakes. I've got USGS, all magnitudes, and we're showing 254 earthquakes in the last 24 hours worldwide. And we've got 50 that are 2.5 magnitude and higher. But before we go there, before we go into all the earthquakes, I want to show you something. Right up here in Canada is a small town called Red Deer, and there was a 4.6 earthquake near there on March the 4th, and it was not reported on USGS or EMSC or really anywhere. It was reported locally. They've got like local earthquake stuff and local news and things like that. I follow the Planet X News channel and on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Scott Sion, one of his listeners, sent him information on it and links, and he reported on it, and apparently there was a blackout in the town for a while, and So they're not sure what happened. Some earthquake reporters thought it was from fracking. They don't think it was. So they're not sure, what caused this earthquake, except the Rocky Mountains do extend up through there, and it's a straight line down to Yellowstone. So if you back out and you look, it's pretty much a straight line right on down to Yellowstone. But Red Deer is flat, but the foothills of the Rocky Mountains are right over here. So let's look at this article. I just find this fascinating and this earthquake happened right about the same time as that the 5.3 that got downgraded to 4.6 or whatever happened in Colorado. So I think they could be connected. So this is from RD News Now, and it's Red Deer News Now.com, and this is from March the 4th at 7:41 a.m. and it's been updated. It was last updated on March the 5th at 4:52 p.m. by Gary McKinnon and Sheldon Spackman. Earthquake shakes Red Deer region, and they're showing it to the west of Red Deer. Red Deer. Local residents were shaken out of bed Monday morning by a 4.6 magnitude earthquake. Earthquakes Canada recorded the earthquake at 5:55 a.m. The location was 19 kilometers west of Red Deer, revised from earlier reports, but it was felt over a large area of central Alberta. The quake was about a kilometer beneath the surface, so it was pretty shallow. So far, there have been no reports of damage or injuries. Joan Gaudette, communications officer for Sylvan Lake, says the power went out in most of the town. Gaudette said there has been seismic activity in the past between Sylvan Lake and the community of Rocky Mountain House. In June 2015, the Rocky Mountain House area experienced a 3.5 magnitude quake. A 4.3 magnitude earthquake struck near Rocky in August 2014. The USGS website says an earthquake similar to the one that struck this morning has a sensation like a heavy truck striking a building that can rattle windows and may break some dishes or windows. It also depends on the depth as to what it feels like. Timmy Mulder, earthquake seismologist at the Geological Survey of Canada, National Resources Canada, says, at this point in time, they believe the earthquake to be associated with the tectonic activities of the foothills of the Rockies. While these earthquakes are not frequent, they certainly have not been unheard of, she explains. This happens to be a bit larger than usual. Usually we've had a few in the magnitude 3.0 range, so this is a bit bigger than that. The Alberta Energy Regulator says a hydraulic fracturing company conducting activity in the area of the earthquake when it occurred has since stopped. Calgary-based Vesta Energy reported seismic activity to the AER at about 6:20 a.m. We are currently reviewing the events to determine if the incident is due to hydraulic fracturing activities or natural causes. At this time, there have been no reported impacts to public safety, infrastructure, or the environment. Mulder, sounds like X-Files. Mulder anticipates they'll learn more about the earthquake in the coming days. I wouldn't expect there to be any damage from 4.6, she declares. People have reported feeling a sharp shock. They reported things rattling and swaying. There's possibilities things may have fallen off shelves or from high up and broken, but other than that for damage, I wouldn't expect anything. However, Mulder points out a certain sound people have reported in connection with the earthquake. It's more like sort of a rumbling noise people have been describing. It's possible some people may to them hear it like a train. These are very common noises that you can hear associated with an earthquake. Not every time, but it's not at all unusual. She says reports of the earthquake have come from numerous communities including Red Deer, Sylvan Lake, Penhold, Springbrook, Lancome, Benalto, Leslieville, and Black Falls, with most according to Mulder coming from Sylvan Lake and Red Deer. There's no reason for me to think at this point in time that there might be another earthquake or aftershocks. We don't often see that in your area. There doesn't tend to be aftershocks in your region. Looking back at past events, I wouldn't expect to see much more in the upcoming days, weeks, or months. Mulder estimates an earthquake of this magnitude only hits our region once every 10 to 20 years. This is a great reminder to be prepared for any type of natural disaster. So get your earthquake kits out of your emergency preparedness kits, and make sure that you have some canned food that doesn't go bad, and some water. Be prepared for power outages and the normal things that might happen during the winter. Mulder encourages anyone who may have felt the earthquake to report their experience to the Earthquakes Canada website, and you can click on their link there. Scott Schreiner, Vice President of Communications of AltaLink, confirms the power went out for roughly 4,600 Fortis, Alberta customers, affecting all of Sylvan Lake and the surrounding area for about an hour and a half before being fully restored just before 7:30 a.m. So there you go. So if we want to look that up on Google Earth, we can do that. Let's look up Sylvan Lake. Alberta, Canada. Here we go. We're flying to it. There it is. So there's Sylvan Lake. That looks like a nice little town. They've got a Walmart. Of course. They can't have a town without a Walmart. There's Half Moon Bay. And so on and so forth. Here's Edmonton. And here's Red Deer. So, see, Sylvan Lake is just to the west of Red Deer. So that's where the power went out. That's where most of the people felt it. So, and then the Rocky Mountains are right over here to the west. You can see. So here are the foothills. Here's Rocky Mountain House, where they were talking about the earthquakes that they've had over there in the past. So this is right at the edge of the foothills, it looks like, of the Rocky Mountains. And then we had that 5.3 down here in Colorado, just south of Grand Junction. Same day. It was all the same day. So there you go. So let's close that out for now. And we'll close this out for now. and I will leave the links below. So here's Red Deer on our earthquake map. So it happened right over here to the west. See, no reports. Not a one. Of course, this is today, but there have not been any reports from up there. So let's get started. We've got a lot of earthquakes to go over today. Kobuk is still, Alaska is still rocking up there, and this is one of the oldest one, is from Kobuk, Alaska. It was 2.9. Let's see what else. We've got Mammoth Lakes. We've got small ones up there. So let's see what else we got. Lesperance Rock. Let's start down there in New Zealand, or north of New Zealand. Remember, we saw a whole bunch down here yesterday, and they're still going. There have been 4 in the last 24 hours, and so these times are going to be in Pacific time. So this is near the Kermadec Islands, and it's north of this northern island of New Zealand, right on these red lines. There's a 5.0 yesterday at 6:27 p.m., 35 kilometers deep. 4.9 at 5:02 this morning. 5.5 at 7:27 this morning. And a 5.7 at 8:29 this morning, and this one came in at 27 kilometers deep. The others just say 10 kilometers deep, and that's the USGS default depth for when they don't know how deep it was, or they're just not going to say. But these are it's like they're banging off. These tectonic plates are banging off of each other, and you can see, like when I pull out, it just goes around, around the circle. They just pop up here and there all around, opposite where the last one was, and then it, angles and stuff like that. So it has been really active. Now, here was one near Tonga of 4.8 near Obanua, Tonga, that came in at 2:59 this morning. And coming on around, here was one right on the coast of Papua New Guinea, 4.6 near Abipura at 2:23 this afternoon. Then down here near Java, 4.6 near Sindansari, Indonesia, came in at 12:43 this morning, 101 kilometers deep. So you got some depth going on there. Then up here, just south of Taiwan, a 4.9 near Hinchun, Taiwan at 7:49 last night, right on that red line. Then near Japan was a 4.8 in the Izu Islands region at 3:31 this morning. We saw one there yesterday too, 47 kilometers deep. Then moving on up into Russian waters, 4.9 near the Kuril Islands at 12:16 this afternoon, 128 kilometers deep. Now let's move over to the land. The land earthquakes. 4.4 near Didang, China at 11:37 this morning. And here's a 4.4 near Kashmir, Pakistan that came in last night at 10:44 last night. And we saw another one right there yesterday too, earlier in the day. So that was a pair there. Nothing in the Red Sea today. Now, Africa, this is most unusual. We normally don't see any in South Africa, but we had one right down here, 4.8 near Folkville, South Africa at 1:32 this morning. So there's that. Then in this mid-Atlantic ridge in the Atlantic was a 4.9 northern mid-Atlantic ridge at 7:53 last night. And South America has been active. 4.4 near Anilo, Argentina at 9:10 last night, 15 kilometers deep. Here's one on the coast of 4.4 near Coquimbo, Chile at 10:34 last night, 66 kilometers deep. 5.7 off the coast of Coquimbo, Chile at 7:34 this morning, right on that red line. This is the ring of fire, comes all the way around. Then another large one on land, a 5.0 near Putre, Chile at 9:50 last night, 110 kilometers deep. Then up here in Peru was a 5.2 near Chongoyape, Peru at 8:05 last night, 61 kilometers deep. I remember down here in this area, just north of New Zealand, there was that 6.4 yesterday, and then all those aftershocks. So that's going to set off all kinds of movement, which we're seeing. Now let's go to all magnitudes and take a peek at Hawaii next. We've got 5 on the map here, 2.1, 1.7, 2.0, 1.7, and 1.8. And remember, we are coming up on the anniversary of the Fukushima earthquake that happened on March 11th. We are coming up on the anniversary of that. So that may be another reason we're on high alert. So looking at Alaska, the whole Alaska region, today we're showing 66 earthquakes of all magnitudes. And so let's start down here in the Aleutian Islands. Here's a 5.1 near Atka, Alaska at 1:46 this morning, 41 kilometers deep. Then a 4.7 near False Pass at 8:29 this morning, 162 kilometers deep. Then right down here, 4.8 near King Salmon at 2:11 this afternoon, 135 kilometers deep. Let's see where that is. 2.3 near Nikiski at 12:11 this morning, 0 kilometers deep. Here's all of these in the Anchorage area. We got 45 in this area today. This looks like the biggest, 3.3 near Big Lake, and that is considered the Anchorage area. This one happened at 10:53 last night, 45 kilometers deep. Look at this one, 2.7 near Nick Fairview. Today at 4:20 this afternoon, and so on. Now let's hop up here to Kobuk and see what we can see. Look, there's a new one. Okay, we're gonna get those other ones off the map here. 10 here. I'll call them off at 2.9, 2.7, 2.3, 2.3, 3.2, 2.8, 3.3, 2.9, 2.4, and 3.3. So we've had two 3.3s up here. Then this red one just came in, 3.0 near Onuktuvuk Pass at 5:48 this afternoon, 15 kilometers deep. And then this one up here, 2.5 near Koktovik at 10:09 this morning, 9 kilometers deep. Here's one down here, 2.2 near Yakutat at 4:41 this afternoon, 0 kilometers deep, very shallow. Let's cover Dominican Republic next. We have 10 here on the map today. I'll call them off. 2.3, 2.6, 2.9, 2.6, 3.0, 3.4, 2.2, 3.2, 3.0, and 3.5 is the highest, and it came in at 3:57 this afternoon, 89 kilometers deep. So most of these are in the ocean. Looks like they are all in the ocean, so they probably didn't even feel those. Now coming into the lower 48, we've got some unusual activity going on. I'm going to start up here. Here was one in Canada, in New Brunswick, a 2.9 near Miramichi, Canada, that happened last night at 7:17 in the evening. We normally don't see them there. But that's pretty good size. Then there was one in the Florida Panhandle, right on the northern part here, 2.7 near Century, Florida. This came in last night at 10:45 p.m., 5 kilometers deep. So another place we normally don't see earthquakes. Just like we normally don't see tornadoes rip through the south like they did this week and just devastate masses of areas and killing people, and we got to keep all of these people in our prayers. 2.8 near Blanchard, Oklahoma. This one came in at 5:18 this morning. Now moving on into Colorado, we've got another one here at Dove Creek. This is where we had that 5.3 that got downsized. So we've got a 1.7 here today at 12:17 this morning, or right after midnight, at 0.4 kilometers depth. Same place. And now Salt Lake, Utah. We've got two near Beaver, Utah. We've got a 3.0 and a 2.2 that came in this morning. Then, let's see what this one is. 1.1 near Farron. Lone one after all the clusters. Then, just south of Salt Lake City, we've got three here. These are at Bluffdale, 0.9, 1.4, and 0.9. Then, moving on up, into the Yellowstone region, we've got some activity here. We've got 8 on the map, so I'll call them off. They're kind of peppered around. I'll just call them off. 1.7 near Chalice, Idaho. 1.9 near Jackson, Wyoming. 1.0 near Whitehall, Montana. 1.9 near Lincoln, Montana. 2.1 near Chalice, Idaho. 0.3 near West Yellowstone, Montana. 1.8 near Old Faithful Geyser. And a quarry blast right here. 1.7 magnitude quarry blast near Dillon, Montana. This one happened at 2:02 this afternoon at a -2 kilometers depth up in the mountain. So there's that. Then up in the Pacific Northwest in Washington, we've got all around the Seattle area, we've got, looks like 3 here. 0.6 near Manchester, 1.2 near Lakeland, and they had an explosion that caused a 1.9 magnitude earthquake near Granite Falls. This one happened at 4:01 this afternoon, right here, at a -0.5 kilometers depth. So we can see these earthquake makers are back at work. Here's another one. Here's a 0.4 near Desert Air at 6:33 last night. Okay, Oregon looks clear. Northern California, we're coming right on down your way. 2.7 near Hayfork, California. Happened at 5:13 this morning, 32 kilometers deep. Now, let's look at where this is. Remember, Petrolia is over to the west, and this is the San Andreas Fault. This is the Cascadia subduction zone. This is the Juan de Fuca plate. So this is connected to all of that. This is from these plates moving. Is my thought, because it's just a little bit further east than Petrolia. And the geysers has 45 here today. We had 20 yesterday, and now we're back up to very high number, 45. Here's a 2.0. Most of them are under 2. They're in the ones and under range. Here's a 2.1. That's the highest one. So, what did I say? 45. That's a lot. Seriously, that's a lot. Maybe it was 44. I think I accidentally got this one up here on the map. Now, here's a 1.0 near Downeyville. Not too far from Oroville. Here's Oroville and the dam. And here's Downeyville. That one happened at 3:07 this afternoon. Reno's clear. Lake Tahoe is clear. Here's one. 0.4 near Portola. Let's check out northern Nevada. That's clear. Then coming down into the Hawthorne area, we've got a few. Here's a 1.5, 1.1, and then some smaller ones. We always see them down there. And then it's pretty quiet down here in central Nevada and pretty quiet in southern Nevada. We've only got 2 little itty bitty ones, minus 0.1 and a minus 0.2. Just a couple of microquakes there. So maybe they're having some seminars or training or something and they're not making earthquakes today. So now we're going to look at the Mono Lake region. Here's a 1.2 right in the middle of Mono Lake. This happened at 4:11 this afternoon. Here's a 1.1 to the east of Mono Lake at 2:39 this morning. And then the Mammoth Lakes area and the Long Valley area. We had 15 here today. It doesn't look like it, does it? That doesn't look like 15, but we've got a cluster here. Yeah, it's got 14. I lost one. Anyway, we have a cluster, a whole bunch right down here. So, let's see the biggest one. 1.0 near Mammoth Lakes at 3:32 this afternoon. That's the latest one. And these others, then here's that was a 1.0. Here's another 1.0. And then the rest of these are under that. So how many are there? 12. 12 in this viewing area. That's a 1.4. That looks like the highest magnitude. That one came in last night at 10:27 in the evening. Then here's this one, a 0.5. Here's a 0.9 in the mountain. Let's see if any of these are at negative depth. Nope, they're not any at negative depth. Moving on down, here's a little one, a 0.7 near Dixon Lane Meadow Creek. Moving on down this eastern side. Here's 3 all in a row. And here's one right here that just came in. 0.4 Coso Junction. Let's just call these off. We've got 5 here in the picture. 0.6, 1.6. That's down here at Tacopa. 0.6, 0.7, and 0.4. This last one was a negative depth. It was at a minus 0.3 kilometers depth. So the earthquake happened up in the mountain because the magma is moving up in there. That's what that means. And coming on into Southern California, it was a 1.2 near Ludlow. Remember, we saw a whole swarm of 50 or 60 there in one period recently. Here's a 2.4 New Lucerne Valley. Just trying to get the bigger ones. Mexico looks clear. Here's a 2.5 near Ocotillo Wells. Look, here's one right in the middle of the Salton Sea at 1.6. And so on. So in Southern California today, let's see how many we have. '41 on the map. Here's a 2.6 near Moreno Valley. So if we look at 2.5 magnitude and higher, there were 2.5 magnitude and higher. The 2.5 near Ocotillo Wells and the 2.6 near Moreno Valley. So all the rest of those are under that. But little ones count, as we see. They're important too. 1.8 near Kettleman City. Coming on up, here's the San Andreas Fault. This red line. 1.3 near San Lucas. And 2.3 near Tres Pinos. And I think that's a wrap. Let's zoom out. Nothing in Mexico today. Let's see. Uh-oh. I'm seeing something in Alaska. This just came in. Here's a 3.2. Did I already call out that one? No, I think this one's new. Near Onuktuvuk Pass, Alaska. This one came in at 5:48 p.m. 15 kilometers deep. I think that's new. 3.2. Let's zoom out in this map and see if we got everything. There's a 2.7 at Fairview. We got Abipuro, Indonesia. We got King Salmon. We got Kuril Islands. That's a wrap. So, I do believe we are in the end times. We're seeing earthquakes in diverse places, and they're getting bigger in magnitude and more of the larger magnitude earthquakes, as you can see here. Look at all of these large ones around this ring of fire. And 4s are significant too. And high 4s, they're close to 5s. So, I don't know how much time we have. I don't think we have long. I really don't, especially after I learned all that about ice nucleation in the Arctic and, all that. I mean, that just kind of blew my mind to a whole new level. So, what can I say? I think it's time to get right with God and Jesus. Get your spiritual houses in order. Because, you're just not going to have time. Do it while you have time. Get things finished up here and get ready to leave. Focus on getting ready to leave, not trying to fix this broken 3D. It's broken. It's so far broken. And the problem is that the people who are running it are being controlled by the dark mind. By Satan. They're being influenced by Satan. And unless that changes, nothing will change down here. Unless different, unless that changes. I'm just saying, it's been like this for a long, long time. And Satan has influenced the decisions of the leaders because we do have free will. And God did make us with free will so that we're supposed to look at things. We're supposed to figure things out for ourselves and discern and make our own decisions. And then there are going to be consequences. And then you learn from that. And that's the only way you do learn. But you don't keep doing the same mistake over and over and over again. Then you're just mind controlled. Keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's not working. So I say exit stage left. So until next time, I love you guys. God bless you. And I'll talk to you real soon.